This is Ron Klopfanstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My guests today are artist, author, and outdoorsman Mark Usyk and writer, teacher, and blogger Jess Santacroce. I'm also going to have a report from the Newport Short Film Showcase. Remember those cool indie filmmakers I had on the show last week? Well, this Saturday they presented the Haunting of Hanamaker Hall. And I was there, so I'm going to have a report on that in the next segment of the show. But first, Mark Usyk is an ex-hot rod fabricator, ex-blacksmith, ex-cell tower climber. We got to talk about that because I'm like crazy afraid of heights. And he's presently a soul-searching fisherman whose home stream is the Oriskany Crick, or Oriskany Creek. When I ask him first how he says it. He also writes a weekly blog for J.P. Ross Fly Rods, and he's written 3 books. The reflections of a fly rod. I had to pull away from me because sometimes italicized words. I don't have my glasses. Carp are jerks, and not all trout are geniuses. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ron.
First question. So, is it Oriskany Crick or Oriskany Creek?
It's Creek, but I do remember specifically as a kid saying Crick all the time.
I love it because that's what we say.
It changed to Creek, but my brother who lives in Westland still says Crick.
Awesome. Well, tell me I gave him a thumbs up. That's what I always call it Crick because like we always swam in the creek in Peckville, my grandmother's house, my great grandmother's house, the Saunders greenhouse. We'd work there. I also worked on the Feedor's farm. I would pack hay, then go swim in the creek afterwards because that's hard job. So I love the Oriskany Crick, and you do too. So tell the listeners, what is it so great about our Oriskany Creek, Oriskany Crick?
You know, it's got a lot of fish in it, and that's what I'm all about.
Yes,
is fish, so it makes sense. But I have a history with it.
What's the history?
So that's why I say it's my home water. I remember growing up around here.
Yep.
A couple of times when I was real small, the memories have no sound included in them, but just vision.
Right.
Of following my father down a couple of banks.
Awesome.
I know it was the Oriskany Creek.
Yeah.
I remember in grade school having to collect a bunch of crayfish.
Oh
and
yeah.
My father's father taking me to a bridge on the Oriskany Creek to, roll over rocks by lantern light.
Yep.
One of those old, remember the old chrome flashlights?
Oh, yeah.
The light was no good, but it was the best we had.
Yep.
Collecting crayfish all night, and under that same bridge, by the time I got to high school, it was the first bridge I ever jumped off of to impress a girl.
Oh, that's really neat.
It is my home water.
We
And
used
that
to
bridge
do that
is
too.
literally
Yes,
bridge is literally, I would say, probably an eighth of a mile from the house I live in.
Now, what bridge is that? Is that the Peckville Bridge, or is that the one in Walesville, or is that Oriskany?
Nope, that's the one in Oriskany. Everybody used to refer to it as the White Iron Bridge.
The White Iron Bridge, yeah. See, we always jumped off the Peckville Bridge. And that was pretty treacherous too, because like if you missed
they all are.
Yeah, they all are, because they're always like not quite as deep as you think they're going to be.
we had a one spot. Now this could change because when you're a kid, you're stupid.
How much rain? Too,
you don't know how much rain.
No idea.
A tree swept down and is stuck in that hole. But we had one spot on that White Iron Bridge where someone had grabbed road tar with their finger on a hot summer day. And marked the railing. You had to look over the railing, over the water, and find that tar mark. Yeah. And that's where you jumped from.
So then you know it was safe. So whoever did that, well, sort of safe.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we used to, actually, like in recent years too, like I've actually like inner tubed down the Oriskany Crick with my nephews. It's amazing.
I have actually I think about 6 or 7 years ago, I kayaked it all the way from Deansboro to the Mohawk River.
Wow,
I'd never
that's neat.
done that before. I probably never.
I bet there was
again.
a lot of water. There's a lot of water. You can
it had to be springtime.
Yes,
if you do that in the summer, it's a typical creek around here that doesn't have enough water in it to float.
Right, exactly. It's same with the inner tubes too. Like after it rains, it's great. Like when it doesn't rain much, like you just hit rocks, it's like banged up and stuff, So nature is important to you in your work.
Very.
Because I see the great stuff you do. You post things on Facebook. You not only write, but you also make art with wood. Like you use natural stuff in your art. How do you do that?
That's the key to it.
What's the key?
The
nature, right?
The natural part of the art.
Oh yeah.
Picking a piece of wood before I do it. For anybody, nobody knows what I do out there, so I do mostly wood burning. Yep. And I'm starting to get into painting a little bit, but I would burn fish.
Yeah.
And most of what I would burn is trout from like a bird's eye view, looking straight down into a river. You'd see a trout from above and a bunch of rocks. That's kind of become, I guess you want to say, my signature. I've done it for long enough now that I'd
you're
say
really
it's
good
my
at that,
signature.
and I see a lot of your work has that. Yeah.
But it starts with a piece of wood because a lot of people ask, well, why wood burning? I don't remember why wood burning to begin with, but I'm going to say it has to do with the wood.
Okay.
Because the thing is, even as I'm getting into the painting, I could do my art on a white canvas.
Right.
And plenty of people do that, and I think it's awesome. I have some paintings on canvas in my house.
Yeah.
But there is a character to what I do that you don't find on a white piece of canvas because I am trying to... The canvas is just as important to me before I ever put anything on it. Okay. That's why I use wood.
Yeah. Like why? So because it's like a natural thing.
When I am out fishing.
Yeah.
And most people, when they go out fishing, hunting, hiking, whatever it is, you notice things like cool rocks and cool wood.
Oh yeah.
And that's why you're out there.
Yeah.
And when I go fishing, a lot of the time, I'm not very good at fishing to begin with. Okay, I catch fish, but I'm not that
about
great.
it, so you're good enough.
This comes in with the books too. I make it work, but a big part of the experience isn't the fish, like everybody would think. It's everything else.
Is it?
It's
being out there.
It's being out there. I don't know how many times at my front door I have a pile of walking sticks. If I find a cool stick, maybe it was chewed bare by a beaver, something like that, and I use it for the rest of the day. It comes home and it gets set by the front door on my front porch.
Like
I've got a long porch on the front of my house and an old church pew.
Yeah.
And next to the church pew, between the church pew and my door, is a pile of walking sticks.
Oh wow!
It's just a connection.
That's how I am too. Like in the spring woods,
people bring rocks home in their pockets.
Right.
They bring sticks home.
You always bring sticks home
because that is you trying. Yes, that is you trying to bring a part of what was out there, what got you out there, home with you.
Right.
So that's why the art gets put on wood.
You can almost I think with wood, maybe we could talk about this too. Like wood, there's something about it. Like you almost feel that it was alive. Like it's like a real thing.
That is definitely it.
Yeah. And when you burn
100%.
it must be like when you burn wood, it's got to be like it's a real chemical reaction that really is like a real thing that happens.
It is.
You
smell it a little bit. You actually you see a little smoke in the air.
Right.
There again, everybody likes the smell of a campfire.
Right. Exactly.
It's not quite as
primal
crazy, but
and
it's the stuff that
that
draws you out there is why I do it all.
So how do you do it? So you're out there, do you actually get your wood out in the woods, you're hunting and fishing, and you see a stick and think, I'm going to chop this up crosswise, or
very little, not really. Only because it takes so long to dry out a piece of wood that you found in the woods.
Oh, yeah,
driftwood is really cool looking, but it's completely saturated with water. A lot of what I look for is if someone tells me I know somebody that has a sawmill.
Oh, okay.
I immediately go, well, what do they do with their slab wood? The slab wood is the first cut of the log that they throw to the
still
side.
Has the bark a little bit.
It still has some bark on it, or
character.
It has branched knobs and stuff like that. And they toss that to the side, and it usually gets burned or it rots there.
Right.
To me, so this is where we go with this.
Yeah.
I drive through the city.
Yep.
And you will see some really awesome graffiti.
Yeah.
I am an outdoorsman, and I'm not a city boy.
Yeah.
I'm not quite a country boy either, but that's where I belong.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But
I'm kind of like that too.
It's an art thing. Right, I can appreciate some really cool graffiti.
Yeah,
I love it. All right.
Yeah, me too.
So to me, burning my fish scenes, my fish art, burning a trout that looks like it's moving in the water over some rocks.
Yeah.
On a piece of wood that came from nature.
Right.
Is no different than the most awesome wall of graffiti on a brick wall in the city.
Oh, that's true.
That is how I look at it.
Because you're making your mark.
I'm making my mark. I think it's so cool.
And that mark too that you're making, with the trout, with in motion, or the fish in motion.
Yep.
That is kind of your signature thing now. How did you come to that? What does that represent about you?
I think it's why.
I like the action.
I think it's why I fly fish.
Oh yeah. So what is fly fishing?
I like to stand in rivers.
But what is that?
Well, it's just a different way to fish when it comes down to it. For the longest time, I just thought it was like an old man thing.
So did I.
Right? Right. It isn't that anymore.
Like the movie that
yeah,
runs through it.
It's just a different way to fish. And again, once you get past the fly rod itself, and you know the plastic coated line and stuff, the actual flies that you use, the lures,
so those are
natural,
and
like the wood.
You have to tie those into like a shape, right?
Yes. Yeah. So you take a hook and you put it in this little holder of ice, and you tie feathers and fur to it. Yeah. To kind of give it the same shape and silhouette as either an insect or a small bait fish. Yeah. Or at least make it look like something alive.
Right, right.
Because fish don't have hands. They can't swim up to something and poke it and feel it and go, is that real?
Right.
If it looks alive,
it's got to appeal to them.
It could work. That's the thing. So fly fishing is, there's a little more connection to nature because you're not chucking this big piece of metal or a piece of plastic. Right. So you have that kind of like the wood. Yeah. And as far as the trout are, that I always do a trout swimming in a current, looking down on it. The whole reason that I got connected to I've fished since I was probably 4 years old. Yeah. But I didn't start fly fishing until I think 2011. Mm-hmm. I need to stand in moving water. It totally changes where my head is at.
I know the feeling.
Leading up to learning how to stand in a river and fish with anything, I will just say it. I was an angry young man, and standing in rivers, casting a fly rod changed that all. So when I put a trout in a current, it's kind of interesting. I feel like that's kind of a piece of me. The trout wants nothing to do with me because I'm looking to stab it in the face. Right, right. I love to do it, but what I'm doing isn't the nicest thing. Or if a bird of prey saw like that. But I feel like I can connect with that trout, and so I use it in my art.
Wow. So how did you come to fish? Like you said, it helped you like get over your anger and stuff. And I know exactly what you mean. Like when I was a kid, I would always like walk in the spring was behind my house, like every day after school and stuff. And like, how did you find it? Like, I don't know how I found that would be a good thing for me, but I just did because I lived there. Did you just like discover it on your own?
Well, for me, like I said, I had always fished.
To stand in a creek, there's nothing like it because you feel the water go past like past your legs.
It really takes everything in you that you don't want in you. I hate to sound
it's like it washes
spiritual
it away.
And sappy, but it takes it away. The current takes it away from you, and it leaves you with. Boy, I'm going to start going down a rabbit hole, but it's I'm going to say this much. It's a good way to find yourself. It is a good way to figure out who you are and become comfortable with yourself, is to stand in a river by yourself. Yeah. Shooting a fly line back and forth. Yep. There's some grace to that. Yep. And there's the current around your legs, and it changes. I don't know.
It's like meditative.
It's meditative, and the couple of people that I have gone fishing with that have gotten mad while they were fishing because they didn't catch fish or something, never went out with them again because they are not out there for the same reason I am, and they can not get the same thing out of it that I do.
Wow. And I'll bet that like the process of making the flies too. That's part of it too.
That is kind of like the art. When you sit down and you really concentrate on something. Right. Right. Well, if your head's on that and nothing else, everything else is gone for that time. Plus, I think it's probably like a lot of stuff that people will do. It could be like somebody doing the graffiti on the wall I was talking about. Right. It could be like somebody golfing. There's so much. It's whatever that thing is for you. Right. Right. That's it.
They used to kind of call like into the flow, like that kind of happens. Like you just go outside and like and there is like a certain smell to like the water of the creek that like there's nothing else like that. That smell is the most beautiful smell in the world.
And right, and right now with everything, it's like, we're spring. Everything is super green now. Yesterday, day before, this weekend I've been fishing since Friday afternoon when I left work. I've been in my van since Friday afternoon, and like now you walk along the creeks and all you smell is all the new plants coming up. Yeah. A week ago, I didn't smell that stuff.
It's like
There's
crazy.
Always something new.
Like you can almost smell like winter wearing off.
100%.
I mean, it's like something like I think unless you grow up in the country and like grow up like really like being out in the woods in nature a lot. Like you just don't know like how you kind of like feel it and like how the seasons like have a smell, but they do. They totally do.
They do, you know? But you're right.
Especially spring. Spring has a smell, and it's a great smell. And like at times, it's a little bit like stinky, but it's like in a good way because it's like coming back to life.
It's still good. It's all good. There's only a few smells that I don't like, and this is kind of funny, but it connects to fishing memories as a kid.
Yeah.
One of the greatest smells to me is a dairy farm. It's cow manure.
Oh, me too, because I worked on the farm. I loved it, the smell of the cow crap. Yep. I love it. I know it's unpleasant, but I like it.
I totally get when people are like, oh, that's disgusting, it's horrible, but if you have a connection, the stuff that takes you back to better times, and a lot of the time, for a lot of people, that's when you were younger.
I was in high school. That's when I worked on the farm.
That's why you connect to songs. That's why you connect to smells. All that, and that's where all the art comes from.
I always think of that as like the smell of summertime because I worked on the Fedor farm and I did the hay, and it was like that smell is so strong, you know. But it's like it was summer. It was great, you know. So, well, we gotta go to commercial in a moment. I'm just waiting for Jay Easy to get back here. I don't know if oh, here we go. So I think we're gonna go to break here. So coming up next, I'll have this report on the Newport Short Film Showcase. Remember those cool guys we had last week from the cool indie filmmakers? Well, I went to their short film showcase. I saw the movie. I have a report. Also, we're going to talk more to Mark Usyk and to blogger Jess Santacroce will be joining us. This is Memorial Day, so we want to take a moment, of course, to think about the sacrifices made by the men and women who died for our country. We have a lot of veterans that work here at the station, too. I'm Ron Klopfanstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. I'll have more after the break. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm talking to author, artist, outdoorsman Mark Usyk and blogger and writing teacher Jess Santacroce. This past weekend though, I hung out with those cool indie filmmakers from Crow's Nest Pictures up in Newport, New York, where they held their first ever Newport Short Film Showcase. Here's my report. I'm Ron Klopfanstein in Newport, New York, where Crow's Nest Pictures is holding their first ever short film showcase and presenting their film, The Haunting in Haunamacher Hall. Carly Hinman is one of the performers in The Haunting in Haunamacher Hall. So Carly, who will be playing in the film?
My character is Dee Dee Jones. She's sort of like the leader of the YouTube group. She's a very energetic, rambunctious person. She definitely commands the space.
Was it a fun character to play?
Very fun. I mean, I don't really yell or snap at people very often, so we would get to do that.
So you got to do it on screen.
It's pretty fun.
So what has the audience response been to the film?
It's been overwhelmingly pleasant, positive. I've been really happy and proud to show the film to people just because there's so many like universal laughs that people get. I feel like people always laugh at like the close-ups on the faces and the reactions.
What inspired your character?
In the real world, Jake Paul was kind of what I based my performance on. With the big, rambunctious, hey you got like very over the top. So I kind of tried to take the approach of, I think it's called a clout tuber, very over.
I'm with Suli Oliveira. She's one of the co-directors and co-writers of the Haunting in Haunamacher Hall. And Suli, this is a special place to actually show the film because this is where you taped it.
Yes, it is. This is an amazing space. Honestly, it was a rare find, and it's just really fun to be able to bring this kind of event to Newport. That's such a small town, but like a thriving community.
Yeah.
So to actually show it not only in the town that we filmed it, but on set is like great for us.
And I heard that there's a rumor that actually is haunted here.
Yes, our movie plays with that.
Any spooky stories?
Let me think. Well, upstairs there's a huge atrium that is really spooky, and as we were looking through, the different rooms, there's, it's dark, especially we were filming in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
So, very dark, very cold, you hear creaking.
Yeah.
What would you call this chamber? It's like a...
this would be like the Masonic temple. So
this is
like where we do
it's where they do their meetings and stuff. And we were a little nervous, like we weren't sure if we were going to be allowed to use this room because, it might be kind of sacred. But we asked, and they said yeah, and I said, well, somebody gets possessed, and they were like, oh, all right, we'll do it. They had one stipulation: just film on this side of the room. So if you saw, we cheated a little bit. Where we set the characters, you didn't notice, hopefully, but they were in different spots all around, so so we didn't get this side of the room.
I was thinking that you never saw this at all. This whole side here.
But we were able to kind of. That's moving that. You can, with camera angles and tricks like that, you can.
It also looks a lot bigger on film.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting, you know, that the difference in like how it actually looks on in real life.
So, well, interestingly is the way we lit it is we had a big beam right here and a big big light that was in like a big china ball. You guys know what those are?
Yep.
And it was casting down, and we got it in the camera because there was no way to avoid it. It was so big. But in post production afterwards, we painted it out.
Oh,
so
really?
we removed the light in post, and so it didn't look like it was here. So there was just a light on us, but you didn't actually see the light. So that was Generous America who did that. So
and did you tape in the middle of the night?
Yes. So we got here around 6 and we stayed till around 12. So we had about 6 hours of shooting. We would have liked more, but there's never enough time.
Any spooky experiences during the shoot?
No, there is a ghost story here that I was told, but.
So we had a guy who sat there for many years. Jess Santacroce. Called a pilot. His job was to make sure that when we lose the except the numbers were recovered. I used to always work in Syracuse, so I was late to the meeting. I didn't know the building. I greet Jay, he greeted me, and probably time to let me in. Well, that's who that guy. And we had a Masonic service for him on the street off of us. And as my wife and I came walking back down the street, she peeled off and went into the house. And I came here, and the building was all dark, locked up and so on. And I said, thank you. And I walked around my and said, hello. And she responded, hello. And I went, wait a minute. The building is dark, and I just unlocked it. Who's putting me on, right? Went on the side, I jumped back out, looked around, see nothing. Call her on the cell phone, we'll get over there. I said, I want you to stand here on the porch and watch and see who's messing with you. And I'm going to go back in. Went back in, did my thing with the boilers, searched the whole building. As I'm heading back down those stairs, I get to the landing, and all of a sudden I hear a big crash. Like a whole, box full of stuff was falling off the table and whatever. I go looking around the building and find nothing. Okay. Come back out on the porch, who's messing with you? For the next several weeks, not every night I'd come out here and I'd mess with the boilers. And as I would go down those stairs, I'd get to the landing and I would hear a big crash. So finally one night I came up in here, came up, and met my music, those bats and the doors and so on. And when I got to here, what they used to say, they said, look, this is you. We appreciate you watching the door for all those years. We appreciate you apparently hanging around and keeping an eye on the place since then. But we got it now. We can go on to whatever's next.
My name is Todd Barron. I'm the dean for the School of Art at
These are
MVCC.
School of Art in MVCC. And MVCC was involved and.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who was involved was either alumni or former students, from the production crew, the directors, actors, and a lot of support came from the School of Art at MVCC, including like Quentin Usage, those types of things.
So, does MVCC have a film program?
We have a video production degree that really is kind of geared towards like narrative storytelling and digital filmmaking as well. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So how do you feel about the audience response tonight? The turnout.
I think it went great. I think everyone loved it. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
So looking forward to your next film?
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Definitely to the finishing bumps in the road, premiering, and then more films to come from that.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
The films shown here tonight represented a variety of genres and styles, but all were greatly enjoyed by the audience. Crow's Pictures is already hard at work on their next film, which we hope to release in 2026. For 95.5 FM The Heat, I'm Klopfanstein at the Newport Short Film Showcase. I have the video version of that report on my YouTube channel. A link to it is also at uticaphoenix.net/Media Monday, and you can watch The Haunting of Hanamaker Hall on their YouTube channel. We have a link to that on our show page, uticaphoenix.net/Media Monday. You can also find great entertainment news content on our radio station's new blog. It's called The Heat Beat. Read about the music of Phoenix Radio and beyond. The author of that blog is a writer and a writing teacher. Her name is Jess Santecroce, and she's joining us now. So Jess, tell us about this new blog.
Well, the new blog is, as you said, called The Heat Beat, and you can read about the music of Phoenix Radio and beyond. And the reason that it is set up the way it is because it is a retro style blog.
I love that.
For a classic radio station.
I like that, classic radio station. That is what we are. Yes. How would you define what we are?
Classic.
I like that.
Yes, classic hip hop, R&B.
Yeah, all that stuff. Great.
All the variety of classic music, and that's why the blog is styled that way.
I love that.
Because the music harkens back to the decades before, and blogging was the way that we first started reading about.
It was such a cool art form, you know, when it, like back in the 90s and early 2000s, and I love that, like, you're reviving it. What were some of your favorite blogs?
My favorite blogs, I don't even remember them now.
I know, it's funny because, like,
long.
some of them, they came and went, you know, it's like there was Perez, there's a lot of Hollywood blogs at first, too, you know, those are really, really cool. Yours has an entertainment focus, which is nice, and you sort of have like a in at the radio station. Your husband is one of the hosts here, on-air DJ. Who are you married to?
I am very proud to be married to Lou Santacroce. He is the host of Masters of Jazz and Blues Power, if my name sounds familiar.
And when can we hear those shows?
You can hear Masters of Jazz every Sunday on
So Masters of Jazz is Sundays, and that is, what time is Masters of Jazz on Sundays?
Sundays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
2 to 6, and then he has Blues Power.
Blues Power is from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Wednesday.
Wednesday nights.
On
right here, 95.5.
The Heat, and of course streaming on 955theheat.com.
I love that. Yeah. So now tell us about this blog. So what inspires you to write? What makes a good story? You know, what does the blogger look for? When the blogger sits down with your coffee and you're open up your laptop and you're going to write something, what inspires you?
Well, anything I write, before I write anything, I first pray.
Oh,
because
good.
I'm a born-again Christian. I follow my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
So what does praying do for you? Like when you...
Well, what I ask him is, what do you need me to do to serve other people? Because that's the way that we serve Jesus, by serving other people. So I always pray before I write anything and ask, what do you need me to do to serve the audience? And that can be anything from something entertaining to something informative to something encouraging. So far on the Heat Beat, we have had articles about protest music.
Yes, I saw that. History,
Yes, history, protest music. Up to most recently, I did kind of a fun one.
Dogs?
Yes, it was my dog Callie's 10th birthday on May 20th.
Happy birthday.
Yes, belated happy birthday to Callie. She's kind of the mascot of the Heat Beat.
Yeah.
So the latest article has been the top 5 songs about dogs.
Wow. So you kind of clear your mind and you pray, you ask for guidance of what you should write about, and then you have like an inspiration. And so let's say about like when you talked about your dogs, so you have this inspiration that like people would like to have something fun to read and stuff. And so how do you write it? Like how do you what did you think about, like what was your process of actually writing the piece?
Well, to write the piece, of course, I first get the idea, and then I think about what research that I need to do.
Yeah.
And that can vary. So if it's mostly an opinion piece, maybe that's a little less. If it's more of a history piece, of course, that's a lot more.
Yeah.
And I do that first, and then I go back over my notes, and I write from my notes. Of course, it's not, and anybody that wants to try writing or that is a writer and is struggling, that's my writing teacher answer to that question.
Right.
Always remember that it's not a perfectly linear process. I'm sure you'll...
Exactly. Yes, Mark, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah,
we're all writers here. We all have different
She's speaking the
obstacles.
truth.
Sometimes you have to go back, and that doesn't mean the whole project is doomed. It doesn't mean you're a terrible writer. It's part of the process. It's not linear. You go back, maybe you have to do a little more research. Maybe you have to go back and do some more revising on a certain spot. go back to this place of inspiration, get some more ideas.
Sometimes your head runs right into a wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
That happens to everybody.
Yep.
What do you do when you're blocked? That's the hardest thing, writer's block, and procrastination. Like for me as a writer, like it's so hard to write. Like I'll do anything to not write. I'll do anything to like distract me. I love to talk about my stories and like to post things about my stories and have ideas for stories, but to actually sit down and write, no, I don't really like that so much.
Well, I definitely do not go and binge watch Netflix or anything instead of writing. No.
YouTube. I love YouTube. As soon as I get on YouTube,
Oh,
it's
it's
like,
all
oh,
over.
yeah,
I have my
It's like,
favorite.
oh, is it Tuesday already?
I have my favorite YouTubers,
Yeah.
and some YouTubers I watch to get ideas or inspiration, and then sometimes I sit there and watch videos that have absolutely nothing to do with anything I'm writing about.
Yep.
Right.
Next thing you know, it's midnight. I'll tell you what I have done twice
What?
when I had writer's block.
Yeah.
I needed to get a story out.
Yeah.
Right? I had to.
What did you do?
And because I had to, I had no clue. And
Yeah.
usually it just comes so easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All you have to say is, I have to.
I have
And
to,
then-
and you're
Oh, yeah,
done.
There's the
So you know how I got
Yes.
around it twice?
How?
I had writer's block. I wrote about having writer's block.
That's a good idea. I never
And it
thought
just
about
took off,
that.
and all of a sudden, hey, I'm writing.
Wow.
And I got done with that, and I was like, that was cool, and I moved on.
That's a good. We would like to like see it and acknowledge
Yeah.
it. And
Yep.
It's like I don't know what to say, and then make yourself. What's your strategy, Jess?
My strategy is sometimes it actually, we're acting silly, but sometimes it actually does help to kind of back away from it and
Oh,
watch
yeah.
something on YouTube
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with anything. Sometimes that just relaxes you enough, because when you say I have to write something, I have to write it, and
That's all you're thinking
yeah,
then.
I have to write it is the only thing that comes to mind. Yeah.
What I'll do is like I'll go on YouTube and like I'll watch like say every version of the theme song for like Alice and One Day at a Time for like all 9 years and like compare the different theme song versions, like which are like better, and like you see like which actors become like regulars and which are like guest stars, and like then they're in the opening credits this year because they're a big deal, and then like before you know it, it's like, oh my god, it's midnight, I didn't do anything.
My favorite YouTuber is Sophia Nygaard. I like to watch her videos, and I'll sit and watch her trip to someplace I'm never going to go. And I like Ryland Adams.
Oh,
and I'll
cool.
watch his, day in
Check
the
that
life.
out.
He lives in Calabasas, another place I'm never going to go. And
I'm like a big TV theme song guy. I don't know why. Like I watch those like soap out, like primetime soap theme songs, all the Dynasty ones, and I say, oh my gosh. So see, we could talk about that, but we got to do some commercials here. So today I'm hanging out with writers and artists Mark Usyk and Jess Santacroce. I'll have the video and the podcast of this whole show online Wednesday at uticaphoenix.net, along with links to their work in the show notes. I'm Ron Klopfanstein. You're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. More after the break.
Bank of Utica.
On a Media Monday. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm so pumped up here because we just played my ad for the Fitness Mill. So if you want me to do a commercial for you, just reach out. Be happy to do a commercial like I did for the Fitness Mill. But actually, I really do love the Fitness Mill. I do work out there about 10 hours a week, I would say. I'm trying to go for like at least 4 days a week, sometimes 5. But and I came up with that slogan. I'm so proud of myself. Work out, get strong, look great at the Fitness Mill. So anyways, that was my commercial. So anyways, one of the things we're proud of here at 95.5 are the military veterans who work here and whose work we highlight here on the show and on all the shows that we do here at 95.5 FM. And this is Memorial Day, so we want to take a moment, of course, to remember the sacrifices that were made by the men and women who died for our country. So thank you for that. I'm talking to author, artist, and outdoorsman Mark Usyk and blogger and writing teacher Jess Santacroce. When we left off, we're talking about how to get over writer's block. So now that we're off of that, we talked about how to be, what inspires us about stuff, and now we're all back here again, so we talk about whatever we want. So let's first talk about, what are you working on? I was like to know what people are working on. Like, what's the next blog post? What books are you working on? You making more art? What are we doing?
well, I'm working on a book right now. I'm a novelist.
I love it. Wow.
And I have a few novels that I self-published.
Tell us about your novels. I didn't even know that.
Oh, my novels are about a group of fictional artists that are 50 and older, and they live in Utica, New York.
Wow.
So it's just kind of the stories that happen to them in their lives.
What are the books called?
The first one was called Lifting the Shadows.
Uh-huh.
And they're
set in Utica.
Yeah, that one's not set in Utica. The rest are set in Utica.
Cool.
There are artists that live in Utica.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's not exactly a series, but it follows a group of people.
Oh, I see.
Through different stories and different things that happen to them.
Yeah.
And they're writers and musicians, local writers and musicians.
Oh, nice.
I like it.
Yeah. You might get some inspiration here.
Yeah.
Hanging out here at the station.
Yeah. And I'm also working on a nonfiction book right now.
Nice.
And it is about, for 20 years I practiced Wicca.
Yeah.
And I practiced that until I was saved in late September of 2016. So the book is about the dangers of the New Age and Wicca.
Oh, interesting. Like your transition.
Yes, and my transition into being a follower of Jesus Christ. And then the second half of the book is going to be for others who have left Wicca and New Age and turned to Jesus Christ. And that's my work in progress right now.
Plus the blog.
Plus the blog, yes.
Plus the blog. So, and you work on about me too, right? So I have to get some information. I'm so bad about that. Getting information out. I'm so busy all the time, but I do have some stuff I'm going to get it out to you tonight. I type some stuff out about what I do here at the station and stuff. So you must have to write a lot.
I do. I write absolutely every day, and I'm also I'm also a writing teacher, and I use fiction in my writing teaching. I wrote a story just for my students.
Really?
Yes, and so I constantly update that because what the characters need to go through and what they need to produce is what my students need to go through and what they go through and what they need to produce. So that's also updated a lot.
That's an interesting approach. How about you, Mark? How much time, like, because you have to do both, you do both the writing and you also do the art. And you also fish. So, like, how do you balance all that?
And I have a day job.
That's right.
So here's the problem. I don't even tell people.
Just like work constantly without thinking about it.
I don't even tell people I'm writing at this point. I am, but I'm not.
I know the feeling.
I have self-published 3 books, and I started working on my 4th book.
Yeah.
And I thought I would have it done by last fall, before December.
I know the feeling.
And I still have probably half a book to go. That I feel if I went and locked myself away for a week.
Right.
I could easily have it done, but
if
the problem is I can't lock myself away for a week.
Yeah.
I have a day job.
Right.
And all this art has taken off full bore.
You're doing
and
great
art
with
isn't
art.
fast.
No,
so
it's not.
all of this stuff, everything takes time.
Yeah.
And to sit down and get anything done when you're writing, for a while I was using my half-hour lunch break at my day job to try to knock out writing, and that was it. And I would get maybe 2 paragraphs in a half an hour.
Mindset.
And it's very hard. So at this point, I went to Alaska last year, and that was supposed to be the end of my 4th book.
Cool.
That's what I'm still working on, and I'm about to go to Alaska again this year in August.
Oh, wow.
And so what I see happening is...
this will be the end of your book.
Maybe this will be the end of the book I went back a second time, and, you know...
Yeah.
The story progressed into more than just the original trip.
It is, like, it's crazy hard to, like, get in, like, you know, of all the different things, I think, like, with writing, it's, like, it takes, like, so much, like, in depth that it's so hard to, like, it's like you can't, like, switch over to it, like, quickly, you know? It's hard like that.
No, I have to get into it and get rolling, and then leave me alone, and I'm going.
Right.
But what I'm writing
is...
is...
Then it breaks the cycle, then it's like you gotta start over again.
But I'm writing about stuff I did. You know, I went out fishing, and I read a story about fishing. I wouldn't know where to begin writing fiction. I have wrote a couple of fiction stories. There's going to be one in this next book, and there was one in the last book, but they are so closely based on the real thing. I just made them funny. You know when you're, you know when something happens with you and your friends, and you're all laughing about it, but you're like, well, what if we did this instead?
You embellish it.
I embellished like crazy, and they became fiction. But how to set up an entire novel based around people that don't exist.
Well, Jess, how do
in a
you?
storyline, I have no clue where you start.
I think you meant that as a question.
Yes,
because I'm wondering
definitely.
too. So let's put you on the spot, Miss Rain teacher here.
Sure. To write fiction, the first thing that I do is create the character. You
like
come
that.
up with a much more realistic, and I got this from theater. I have a BA
Oh,
in theater.
cool.
And when
Yeah.
you go to write a play or when you go to act in something, the first thing you do is create the character. And so
Yeah.
I took that into my novel writing. The first thing you do is create the character, and then you put them in a situation.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes it more natural
Okay.
and easier to write, honestly, than if you come up with a situation and then try to come up with people.
Try to plug people into the situation. Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like probably like how you write your stories too, Mark. Like if they're probably inspired by real things and real
Yeah.
people and stuff.
Yep.
It's like so kind of like I always wonder that too. Like fiction would be really because I write nonfiction all the time, but fiction I find it hard to read fiction too, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I'm more of a nonfiction reader too. Like I don't know. It's like it's a whole different thing though. You know, like how do you get how do you decide what should be expressed? Like for you, Mark, like if your book is like mostly nonfiction, but some fiction stuff, like how do you decide? And like for you too, Jess, like how do you decide if you're going to write something, you inspired to write something? How do you decide if like you want to go the fiction route or the nonfiction route?
This book that I'm writing now is my only nonfiction other than the blog. I'm mainly
So you're mainly a fiction.
I'm mainly
writer.
a fiction writer.
Yeah.
And the way I decide what to put in, so to speak, is the mental camera. If it were a movie playing in your mind, you picture it, what would be on the screen?
Oh, I like that.
That's what you want to put on the
Yeah.
page.
So how does like what would play in your mind on the screen? How does that? What would make it be something where like it should be fiction or like it should be nonfiction? Or do you ever start with a fiction piece and decide, like you did, Mark, kind of like what you do, like you start with like a real thing that happened,
Yeah.
and like you embellish and make it into a real story.
Yep.
So like you just like at some point realize like this could be improved if I like went in a different direction.
It's interesting how she's talking about, seeing the movie scene in your head.
Yeah.
When I went fishing all weekend.
Yeah.
I have 3 days worth of all kinds of stuff that I saw that went on.
Right,
And all it was fishing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when I write about it,
Right.
I am looking. This
That's
is
the
really
amazing
cool.
thing.
I am seeing in my head. I could write about anything, but how many times can you write? I went fishing and I caught a fish.
Right.
What I am writing
Yeah.
is actually what I experienced. What I think people would like to see if it was in a movie. I'm not
Right,
going to write the
right.
boring stuff. I'm going
Right.
to write what I feel is interesting, and I'm
Yeah.
a movie buff.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I do kind of look at it like I'm writing, but in my mind, I'm watching the movie.
You kind of like a cinematographer, like in
Yeah.
your head. So,
And you know
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
There's a lot of deleted scenes.
Oh.
Like, why would I?
Right,
Let's just get rid of that. We
Yeah.
don't need that.
Yeah. So what would be like what is a good story? Like you're doing it, you're thinking like this would be because like if you're out there, if you're really out in nature, and like if you're really experiencing it, like I do, and like
Yep.
you do, and like your readers do, like you experience so much when you're out there like in the water. How do you know like this is the thing, like this is going to be a story, this thought I had, or this thing that happened, or this frog, or this.
So the last book I wrote is called Not All Trout Are Geniuses.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last story in that book, I drove cross country to Southwest Texas, and I spent 3 days in the desert in my kayak with
Wow.
3 other guys,
Wow.
kayaking and fishing in the desert, just a few miles north of Mexico,
Oh my
which
gosh.
is crazy enough to
You
hear.
wouldn't think kayaking in
exactly.
desert, you know?
But that ended up being the longest story in the book, the last one. But there were certain things.
Yeah.
You want to know how you decide?
Yeah.
It's just something that you can't ignore. At
Oh,
one
great.
point, there was a big desert bluff on the left of the river, and there was a huge piece of that bluff, a massive boulder, the size of 240 Counterline vans parked next to each other, that had broken away from the bluff and rolled down into the river, and it just sat there. And the river was just
Wow.
bare limestone,
Yeah.
a white bottom, so it's a turquoise river in the middle of the desert, and there's
Yeah.
plants, cactus, stuff like that on the sides, and it's just desert. But here in the middle of that nothing river was this massive boulder. And it reminded me of a boulder that I pass all the time up here in the Adirondacks when I go brook trout fishing. And that struck me that here I was, Southwest Texas, practically Mexico, and I saw a boulder. I was in the most gorgeous place I've ever fished. And it made me think of back home, the Adirondacks, this one rock. How do you not write about that?
Right.
So someone else on Instagram went and did this river trip 3 weeks ago, maybe. I saw them post about it, and they took a picture of that same rock and they posted it.
Yeah.
And I said, give me your address. And I sent them the book. I said, I literally wrote 2 paragraphs because
that is so
it's
cool.
just a rock sitting in the river, but for some reason, it wasn't just me that it stuck out in. There it is. You can't ignore it. It's like a big, beautiful building in a city around a bunch of other buildings. For whatever reason, that stuck out. You better write about it.
And it was the thing that resonated. Like, how did you remember it? Like, you're going down the river in the kayak. Like, do you take a picture of it quick? Or
honestly, I probably would have never forgot about it, but I took a million pictures. Listen, with these phones in our pockets
that's
now.
what I do too. Because also like if I'm doing a story, like I'll take pictures of like outside for like what the weather was like. Because some of them like
you can go back and look at them to get you going. Even
was it raining? Was it really dark out? You know. So Jess. So how about you? Like, what do you like when you're living your life and you see stuff? What's something that like you saw or that you experienced and you thought to yourself, this is a story? Or like you thought to yourself, I'm going to go home, I'm going to pray on this, maybe this is a story. Like, what things do you notice?
Anything can be the spark for a story. I could just see someone behaving a certain way.
Yeah.
Or, you know that old writer threat, don't make us mad, we'll put you in our novel.
Make you famous.
That's actually true. We really do that. We might see you doing something really embarrassing and write a whole novel about it. So don't act up in public. Especially kids.
That's great. That is great.
Watch your stuff right here at the station. What are some of your favorite things you ever wrote?
My favorite things.
I want to ask you that too, Mark. So be thinking about that. What are some of your favorite things you ever wrote? Not just the most successful thing, the most popular thing, but something that like you just really like that. Like you think back and you think, I like that experience, or I like to read that again, just to see like. Sometimes when I read stuff that I wrote in the past, I remember like how I felt at the time, and like I get back to that. Like it may not have anything to do with the story, but I remember like what I was doing then, and you know, like what do you have?
I tend not to be a fan of my own writing, but
really?
I'm not that good, and I still make my living as a writer. So everybody.
Well, if you make your living as a writer, then you're better than me.
We're all our own worst critic.
Exactly, we are. Yeah.
I don't consider myself a good writer, or particularly like what I write.
Well, I think you need to start doing that. So that's one of the themes of this show: is do stuff and believe in yourself.
But I do enjoy my characters. I do have my favorite characters.
Who are they?
My 2 favorite characters are a married couple named Heather and Quinn Sartini.
Mm-hmm.
He's a musician, and should be a writer if she could actually get up the courage to do so. And they wind up in various situations around town. They get into work mishaps in a lot of my books, and pretty normal. I mean, there's nothing really strange.
Yeah.
Except for the next one that I'm going to be working on, where they may or may not join a group that may or may not turn out to be a cult. That's my next fiction project.
So now, are these characters inspired by you and Lou, or are they?
Well, no.
Or will you play them in the movie?
Lou says that my character Quinn reminds him of himself.
So maybe it.
So I think Heather is the most like me out of my characters. I have some other characters, of course, in the crowd of artists that I think are very different than me.
Probably a lot of your characters have like elements or aspects of your personality. I'm sure that's when you write.
Probably.
So yeah. How about you, Mark? So like, what's some of your favorite stuff? Because you have a lot of different kinds. You do art in different ways.
So I want to be with her and say I hate talking about my own writing, but you have to.
You have to, yeah.
I remember Pearl Jam coming out with an album and Eddie Vedder going, "Nobody buy our album. It's all about capitalism, blah, blah, blah."
I remember that.
Okay, that was a big thing. So listen, you have to promote yourself.
You got
all right?
to.
So
got to.
in my first book, my first book, Reflections of a Fly Rod, is all super short stories.
Uh-huh.
They are literally 2 to 4 pages long.
Yeah.
They're that short. So there's like 62 stories in it.
That's
It's
a good,
super easy.
yeah.
A buddy of mine said that he loved that book when it came out because each story was just the right length for a while. He got up and went to the bathroom every morning. Okay, but I took that as a compliment.
I was thinking
That's perfect.
Does a service.
Like
Yes.
the book Hatchet. You
Yeah.
know, that's like
Yeah.
a great book like that.
Just
it's
like
really
that.
short. I love to read that with kids. You know.
So
It's
in
like,
that first book, I had a passage. I had a few lines that I kind of feel like I almost could have stopped right there if it was at the end of the book and never wrote another book because I pretty much said it all.
What are they?
And it was about fishing on the Oriskany Creek.
What are they? Do you remember?
I remember them not
For,
verbatim, but mostly.
What the thoughts were?
Yes, mostly it was that I go out to fool fish, and I'm not the greatest at it. Some days I win, some days the fish beat me. And we both have an understanding that I am out to catch them, and I understand that they don't want to be caught. Some days it balances out, most days they win, but I can't hold it against them because they're only fish.
I love that.
And
That is a
every
is
time
a
I
great
think about
sentence.
that, I'm
And
like,
that's how
you know,
started?
and that's how I started. And I said I could probably finish right there. That pretty much is what every book, every
Right.
story that I've written, that's kind of the sum of it all.
Exactly.
You can't hold it against them. They're just fish, but that's the point
And I
of
was gonna
going
say,
out there.
like
It's just fishing.
I love that. And like in 8th grade, we would call that your central idea, and like that perfectly articulates that. Wow, that is really great. So, both of you guys have books, and you have art and websites. We're gonna have links to all of this stuff at unicaphoenix.net/Media Monday. Before it goes, is there anything you want to get in, like a website or something? I'll get all this on the show notes, but if you want to get in a plug, you can do this. I know you guys don't like to promote yourselves, but I'm going to say, Mark, you're on Amazon, so you can buy your books on Amazon.
Yep.
So where can you see your artwork?
You can go on Amazon, Google, or Amazon search Mark Usyk, USYK, and my 3 books will come up. But if you're into art, if you'd like to see what I'm doing, first you can find me on Facebook. I don't have a website yet. I just put down some money to have somebody build me a website, but it's not up yet. So just find me on Facebook. I'm
You can see all
public. You
your
don't
art
even
there.
need to friend me.
Right.
You can just see it. I'm constantly posting art. But if you are local and you ever take weekend trips up to Old Forge, there is a building across from the candy store. It's maybe 3 buildings past the high school, right on the main drag in Old Forge.
I
It's
know where
called
the candy
Space.
store. There's really just like one road in Old
That's
Forge,
it.
so you can't miss this
Yep,
place. So.
about 2 or 3 buildings past the high school. Across from the candy store is called Space. And when you walk in the front door, you walk right into my vendor's booth.
Cool.
You're staring
Like,
right
what
at
are
it.
the hours for that place?
I am not sure what they are right now. I
But it's
want
like,
to
kinda
say
like-
they're Thursday through Sunday.
Probably like touristy hours. So like
Yes.
if you're in Old Forge,
Yeah.
if you want to.
You could go on Facebook and
weekends
look for
stuff.
Space Old Forge and find the hours too. But I think it's Thursday through Sunday right
And
now.
on your Facebook page, you see not just like the art, but like your like philosophy too. So like that's what like your writing that I like so much is like really on your Facebook page. So like that page itself is like an art.
I'll
thing, too.
tell you a
So,
secret
you know.
about the writing portion.
You're really
if
good
I
at
post
that,
art,
so-
it's because I'm trying to be better at self-promotion.
Yeah.
But if I write something,
Yeah.
part of it is because I know I haven't been writing much, and that
It's
is
good
my
practice,
quick.
isn't it?
That is quick
Yes,
practice.
yes.
And the other thing is, if it's something positive,
Yep.
if it's
yep.
something that wow, that's kind of a neat look at whatever.
Yeah.
I write it for myself as much as anybody else.
Good for you.
Because you have to. You have to tell your thing. You can't.
Right.
You have to tell yourself that
And
you know
both
stuff and things are better than you think they are.
doing great work, so you should promote it. Like let people know about it. So Jess, before we go, where do you see your stuff?
If you would like to buy any of my books or my husband's albums, we share an artist website at www.artistcafe315.com.
I will put links to that too on the show notes for you guys. So today we've been talking to writers and artists Mark Usyk and Jess Santacroce. I have a video and podcast of this show online Wednesday at unicaphoenix.net/Media Monday, along with links to their work in the show notes. Our sound engineer is Jonathan Brooks. He's DJ Jay Easy. He's up next with the Easy Ride Home. Jim Hall records the show for YouTube and podcast. Lily Christopher is our associate producer. Nabil Khan is our entertainment correspondent. I'm Ron Klopfanstein, and I'll be back next week with another Hot Seat Media Monday.